This week's guest is so timely for Memorial Day week. Navy SEAL veteran, now owner and founder of the Declan James Watch Company, has some super insights on his approach to business, customers, quality, and heritage. We talk about why a man and father needs to invest in a timepiece, and we talk about the incredible power of the American veteran community.
And I thought to myself, this is kind of what America's about, is this people want to help other people.
Okay, guys, welcome back, and thank you so much for being here. Just a couple housekeeping items before we do dive in. Thank you so much for the feedback and the reviews. Please keep them coming. This week's review of the week is from Jay Swisher, Purpose. This is such a great listen for those of us looking for purpose, direction, and a way to tackle your fears. Looking forward to listening to future episodes. Thanks, Jay. Really appreciate it. Also love to hear your feedback. Please go to manofmastery.com/iTunes. Give us a rating. Give us a review. If you're not sure how to do that, you can also go to manofmastery.com/5, F-I-V-E, as in 5 stars, the review we hope we'll get. And that will give you some further instructions on how to do this. Okay, Man of Mastery, episode 5, Declan James Watch Company. Guys, thanks for joining us again here today on another episode of Man of Mastery podcast. Today's guest I'm honored to have, and he is no stranger to a lot of the things that we've been talking about here. Uncovering your purpose in life, following your passion, taking action, finding happiness in things like pushing yourself to grow, and really finding that growth beyond your comfort zone. Mr. Brian Dougherty is, again, no stranger to leaning into challenges. As I understand it, he got a finance degree, started a career in commercial real estate, made a relatively late career switch into the Navy in his late 20s. Brian did so, taking a gamble on making it into the special operations community of the Navy, specifically the Navy SEAL teams. Spent 8 years on active duty, deployed overseas, was an instructor at BUDS, and is now retired from active duty. As a veteran, he is now owner and entrepreneur, founder of the Declan James Watch Company, named after his first son. They just launched fall of last year, 2018. Mr. Brian Dougherty. Brian, thanks for joining us, and congrats on the launch.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show. It's quite an honor. Thank you.
No, pleasure's all mine. You and I got connected just around the passion for watches, and I quickly got interested in the whole story. So I hit a lot there in kind of a single breath, but do you mind saying a little bit more about your lifelong passion for watches and what brought you to this point?
It's a good question. It goes back quite a bit. My passion for watches really started, back when I was in grade school. One of my good friends, Blake Alexander, who, by the way, one of my watches is named after the great, for Blake Alexander the Great.
Okay.
The Great.
Nice.
It was my birthday, and he gave me a watch for my birthday, and it was like a neon green shark watch. I must have been in like 3rd grade or something. And ever since then, my passion and my obsession for watches just started. It started with that first watch that I received from him. And I've just cultivated that passion and that obsession, throughout my life. I remember in high school, one of the best jobs aside from being a Navy SEAL was selling watches at Dillard's. Believe it or not, I really liked that job. And then, I just kind of went off to college and, just didn't do much with my passion. Got a job, like you said, I got a degree in finance. I got a job in commercial real estate, joined the Navy, and it wasn't until in the Navy where I learned about like pushing myself and following your dreams and following your passions. I don't know if that's weird or not that I learned that in the Navy. Maybe it was just coincidental. But I started to think about my passion of watches again, and that's kind of how Declan James started off.
Yeah, nice. Certainly, you've been through some stuff that's no. You don't shy away from doing hard things, and I think I had asked you when we chatted last time about the watch business being, it's got to be a very competitive and crowded space. And I mean, maybe timely. So was just listening to some material from a guest I had on here recently who was talking about what he called epiphanies or breakthrough events in your life, and how you get inspired to do something that is just outside of your comfort zone. It's definitely going to take work and take a challenge, and there's sort of that innate survival instinct that I think we all have that innately wants you to shy away from hard things.
Right.
But you're kind of leaning right into that. Is that a skill that we're born with? Is that something you learned, or is that something you cultivated over the years in your military training?
I think maybe it's a little both. I will start off by saying I feel like the same person I've always felt like when I was 15, 16, 20 years old, prior to me joining the Navy. One thing I've learned when I joined the Navy is that through my interactions with other people and through the training, it's oftentimes not the smartest guy or the fastest guy that wins. It's always the guy that tries the hardest and refuses to give up. And through those experiences in the military, I found that to be it was interesting to me, because I kind of grew up a little bit thinking if I was the smartest guy, if I was the fastest guy, but that's far from the truth. Far from the truth in every facet of life. And I think, like I said, I always felt like the same person prior to joining the Navy that I am today, but I think the Navy just kind of exposed that to me, and it really resonated with me. And I realized that, I might not be the smartest or fastest guy, but as long as I'm the guy who dares to win, I might win.
Right. Yeah. And in a competitive business space, so in the watch space, or, hey, let's take another example, podcasts. There's a ton of podcasts. There's a ton of people out there talking about self-development. In some sense, it's taking that first step. A lot of people think about an invention, or they think about a new business, or they think about doing something, and you have a very small percentage of people who actually take the first step. And then beyond that, it's just, to me, it's putting in the daily work. And a lot of small things often add up to big things.
Right. There's this quote, I don't remember who says it, but I think you'll know this. It goes something to the effect of, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a basketball quote, I'm going to guess.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Go with that, or hey, you got a military background. Let's say it's an actual shot.
There you go. But the point is, like, if you don't take that first step, you're never going to take a first step, and you're never going to know what could have been.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And although you've jumped into what turns out to be a very competitive market, I thought there were probably not very many American-based watch companies, and I went out, kind of doing some searches for it. Wow, there's a ton, but I mean, one of the things that I noticed right away, I'm not sure I've seen anybody that offers a lifetime warranty on a watch.
Right. You're right. It is a very competitive space, and that was a lifetime warranty. One, I stand out of it. And I think in today's age, a lot of companies have gotten away from not only standing behind their product, but just doing what they have to do to make their customer happy. And that's what I want to do, is make my customer happy. So if they're not happy, I want to know. I'll make it right. And, you're right. I don't know of a watch company that really does that. So the other thing was it's a way for me to distinguish myself from my competitors. As far as my lifetime warranty goes, that's something that I stand behind, and I always will stand behind. I stand behind my product. I think I make a great product. And at the end of the day, if you as my customer's not happy, I'll take care of you.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like simple stuff, and it's so hard to find these days. I mean, when I discovered your product, your watch, and you and I have talked about this a little bit. We'll talk about marketing. Yep. I'm by nature and by comfort zone myself, not really a social media guy, and I don't think that's necessarily your inclination either. But that's how I discovered it, and a couple of things that struck me right away, and I can see why you've got a lifetime warranty. I'm big on Swiss movement. I mean, I just kind of feel like if you're buying a watch, you need to buy quality mechanics in it, and you've got this for the watch geeks out here, this ETA 2824 movement. It's bomb proof. So not only are you standing behind it, but you've put top quality in it to start with.
Yeah. That was really important for me to build a top quality watch. I could have built a watch cheaper than what I did if I didn't used, not top quality stuff. But like you said, you love watches, so you'll understand this. Swiss movement's where it's at. It's not saying that there's other movements not out there, but they invented the game. They invented the watch essentially.
Yeah,
so it's kind of a no-brainer for me. And when you have good movement, it's easy to stand behind your product.
I can see that. I was just looking back at your 3 current models. The one that's the Critic. So I just got to ask because I'm curious. So you've got Roman numerals on the top, and you've got I don't know what you call the other numbers on the bottom. What's the design there, or the origin behind that?
So the Roman numerals are kind of old school, and the regular numbers are not as old school. So it's a watch that's supposed to kind of pay tribute to those who've gone before us and those who will come after us, knowing that, those who succeed in life, knowing that they haven't done it alone. Someone's always paved the way for them.
Nice. Okay. I didn't expect that. I love it. And you've talked, yeah. I mean, I've heard you talk about how, I'm going to paraphrase, and I may have this wrong, but it's rare that anybody gets somewhere completely on their own. And you had some people that maybe gave you a leg up or pointed you in the right direction when you started this business.
That's right. So I don't know if you're familiar. I think you are with Resco Watches, and I'm sure some of your listeners might be familiar with him. Well, he's actually a SEAL, and he was my mentor, so to speak. And he kind of pushed me into the direction that I'm at now, and he really kind of gave me a little bit of guidance. And I remember I was trying to when I first started off, I just wanted to make a few watches and see where it took me. But I was struggling so much with that because I was trying to do it for free. I was trying to get people to help me, and people will help you, and they were doing it for free, but it was on their time. I needed someone to kind of like do the CAD design of my watch case and all that stuff.
Right. And
I was really struggling, and Resco and I, we were working a Hell Week together, and I was like, all right, I just got to ask him. I got to ask him this question. So I asked him this question about my watch design, and we kind of sat down and talked about it. Excuse me, but I'm on the phone. I'm doing a podcast, buddy. This is the Declan James, who the company is named after.
Love it. Declan James is on the Declan James podcast. That's awesome.
There you go. Anyway, so I decided to ask him a question about the design of my watch. We sat down, we chatted for a little bit. He said, "Hey, if you could do this if you wanted to do this." I never really thought about doing it at the scale that I'm at now, even though I'm still tiny watch company. I thought about it. He's like, "You could do this if you wanted to." So I thought, a couple of weeks later, like, yeah, I can't do this. If you can do it and you make a great watch, there's no reason why I can't do it and make a great watch. So he kind of really helped me out.
Nice.
And that's kind of paying homage, to the people who've gone before us.
Right.
And knowing that no one can do it alone.
Yeah, love it. So I do have a question on that, and hopefully this isn't out of bounds. If I'm out of line, just tell me. So yeah, I do have familiar with Resco. Have one Resco, love it. Mm-hmm. I believe they may have the same movement in some of their pieces that you do.
Right.
And that same. So for people who don't know, ETA has been doing this, as you said, for a long, long time. They're owned now by the Swatch Watch Group, and so this stuff is in Omegas, it's in top luxury brands, and you find this stuff in for the most part watches that are ranging from 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 up. So I mean, just in terms of price point, how and why are you able to offer this kind of quality at the price you're at? In other words, Brian, why aren't you charging us a lot more? I think you could.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Part of what I wanted to do when I started off my company was I wanted those $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 watches. I have an obsession, much like you do. And as I was going into this, I was like, I actually can't afford my obsession. I won't have any money in like 2 months if if I continue on with the obsession of all the watches I wanted. And so I started looking around at other alternatives, and I noticed that there wasn't really a price point that offered this nice movement at a price point that most people could afford. And so the reason why I can offer my watches at the price point I do is I don't have all the overhead that these big companies have.
Yep. Right.
It's as simple as that. I don't have overhead that they have, and that's the luxury of being a boutique watchmaker such as myself. Is I just don't have that overhead.
Okay. Yeah. No, and I think I had phrased a question to you at one point about you're jumping in, in sort of business strategy sense, the Red Sea. But yeah, now it sounds like you've created your own niche here. You're a top quality Swiss movement watch at really a price point nobody else is offering. Plus, incredible design, and I personally I love you Resco both have the 42 millimeter case. I don't have a big beefy wrist, but I'm a tall guy. I like a man sized watch.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I'm happy with my model. I'm happy with my plan, knowing that I offer what I offer at a respectable price point that, quite frankly, it's not going to break the bank.
Right.
For those who really like watches, it's not going to break the bank. For those who really like watches.
Yeah. Now, on your obsession point, let's just be clear, because my wife listens to these things. It's not an obsession. It's an opportunity. It's an investment.
There you go. You know what? I'm going to start saying that. I'm no longer going to say obsession. I'm going to say it's an investment.
It's an investment. Absolutely.
But also, when you buy a nice, fine timepiece that you know that's going to last, let's talk about your son, for instance. I know you have a lot of great timepieces. And at some point in time, you're going to pass those timepieces down to your son. And you're going to be able to do that because you've bought watches that you know are quality. And hopefully your son maybe has this obsession with watches too, and he's going to be able to pass that watch down to his son, to your grandchild, right?
Right.
And this is kind of why I like watches so much, is because your Apple Watch is going to be obsolete in 2 years, and no one's going to pass down an Apple Watch to their son. It's not going to be like an heirloom or anything like that. There's no heritage behind it. There's no tradition behind it.
No history. No family tree. Yeah. No, I'm really glad you brought that up. I'm not an Apple Watch guy. The only other, and really the only electronic piece I've really got is a Garmin GPS that I wear for races and running, because it it's not a function that a Swiss movement is gonna perform. But like you said, that thing is gonna die or be obsolete in a couple years, and I love the way you're thinking about that. Not investment in terms of financial payback, but the heritage I can pass along to my son.
Right.
Love this not only from a watch perspective, but just a business perspective. It's such a great story. So I talked to a friend and a gentleman recently who started a brewery, and this guy here in San Diego. This guy went literally all in. He had a wife that was like 2-3 months pregnant. They had to move out of their house, rent it out to somebody else to cover the bills, living in his garage, and had sunk every bit of cash he had into this company. And he's got some great failure stories and sort of growth from failure, where they had made this commitment personally and financially to this company, and then couldn't replicate his formula for this beverage they were going to sell for months, that he had to work through it. But he made that fully sort of binary all-in move. So for you, can you talk about that a little bit, just for other entrepreneurs, people starting things up? Like you found a way to sort of ease from one career to the next a little bit.
Right. So I have a full-time job doing real estate development right now, and I'm in the Navy Reserves right now. So I kind of got a couple other things going on, and that has kind of, having a full-time job and trying to do my side hustle and trying to build a watch company is more of a slow burn. It's kind of like inch by inch. I'm comfortable with that because I still have a family to support. That's how I want to do it. There's gonna come a point in time, and I don't know when that point is. I think I know what it looks like, but I just don't know when it's going to occur. Of when I'm going to say, okay, my full-time job is now my watch company, and everything else is going to be like my side hustle or whatever it is. I respect people who can do that right off the bat. That's the decision of the entrepreneur and what's right for them. So your buddy who went all in, like, that was his right decision, and knowing that him's going to be able to really make that decision, right?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely individual. I think you're taking probably what for most people is going to be the smarter approach. And not to say you're hedging your bets, but you got responsibilities to take care of. Right.
I mean, hedging your bets is an interesting term that you would use. In a sense, you kind of are, but you're not. It's just like I've got other responsibilities that I got to take care of also. Yeah, I gotta make sure the real Declan James can eat.
The real Declan James. Yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, one of the other things that's interesting about it, and this kind of goes back to just what we think of as success. If so, that guy's name is Andrew. If Andrew's thing had crashed and burned, then we wouldn't have been having the discussion. And people like to, particularly in our media and our culture, we love a winner. And, we talk about the win after after you sort of cross the proverbial finish line, but it's rare to go back and realize, a win is not, it's very rarely a singular event. It's mostly a product and a process of a lot of hard stuff along the way, maybe some pivots, definitely some dark days. And so, as a business guy myself, I find it interesting to talk about that more than the end result, the stuff that you had to go through to really get there.
Yeah. I mean, to take a step back, you're 100% right. It's more about the journey than the destination, right? For every win there is, how many failures are backing up that win? How many mistakes are backing up that win? A tremendous amount. I'm sure if you ask anyone who's successful, they would say the exact same thing. If you kind of dive into it like you have, I think a lot of successful people, they're thankful for their failures, so to speak, right? With me personally, yeah, man, I've spent money I shouldn't have spent. I've done things I shouldn't have done. I've listened and taken the advice of people that, at the time made sense, it still does make sense, but looking back, it just wasn't right for my brand and for my messaging. People always say, you outsource what you can't do very well. And so since I do have a full-time job, I outsource a lot of stuff. I hired a lot of consultants to help me out, and it's great. They got me to a certain point, but at the end of the day, I'm still my brand. I still have that voice. And I guess the biggest thing is that's what I lost, is when I got the help of other people, is my brand and my voice. It just wasn't, all they were was looking at what was written on a piece of paper and regurgitating that, versus if I were doing something like I was feeling it and regurgitating it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, one way I think about that is I worked with a branding expert a few times now on some different businesses, and one of the things he was telling me early on, and we talked about this with the Boochcraft founder, is brand is never really about the physical product or the service.
Absolutely.
Bud Light is not serving or selling a watered down light beer. They're selling, a good day at the beach or barbecue with your family. You're really selling an emotion. And you hit it on earlier, right? You're selling a very useful, high quality product, but ultimately, hopefully you're selling something that is a legacy to your family, or whatever it is you want to package in that. And I think as a founder, it's really hard to communicate that message and let somebody else carry it for you. When you really can package it, I think that's something that's special and can really help you scale.
Right. You're right. And I think, this early in the game for myself, as I'm still trying to establish and get my brand out there, I think it was a mistake. Not detrimental by any means, but there's waste money and wasted time.
Which is tough because you've got other stuff you've got to balance your time with.
Right.
Well, yeah, maybe let's talk about this a little bit because in terms of getting the word out there, I've heard you say, I wrote it down, that you said people buy relationships. So,
right.
How, what's your thinking on how to continue to grow the brand? What is the way that you want to reach people and have people know Declan James?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I thought about this quite a bit actually. And you had said something earlier about social media. I'm not a big social media fan. That's not to say that I won't be. It's not my thing. It's never been my thing. And I think where Declan James is at right now, it's not the silver bullets to my success by any means. I don't even think it's a key to my success at all. I think what is key to Declan James Watch Co. growing is the relationships that I establish with people, is me getting out there, talking to people, going to events, going to, watch fairs, things of that nature. And really, I say this, jokingly, but kind of going out there door to door and selling watches, because it's about relationships. When people meet me and they get to talk to me, they understand me, they understand what the brand's about. And I think that's the key to my growth starting off. Doing podcasts like your show is great because people can hear me talk. They can, they might not know what I look like. They can look me up, whatever, online, but it's an actual voice. It's establishing a relationship, a rapport with someone, with one of your listeners or whoever else is listening or forward this on,
Yeah, no, I think it starts to establish some human contact and relationship, and another term I've heard you use, and you talk about this a little bit if you like, in terms of how this thing all came to be, but I think you've called it like a fire in your belly that led you down this path, and for you, happiness really does come in doing some hard things and reaching for growth. And I don't know how you communicate that kind of passion.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I don't know how you do that via Instagram. I really don't. And I think you might agree too. I mean, you and I had spoke, at length prior to this podcast, and it's all about this relationship and this rapport. And I think it's made this podcast a lot more, but it's made it better. It's made it a little more comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So again, back to the relationships and establishing a rapport with someone just makes everything, in my opinion, better.
Yeah. It's a tough space in today's world to figure out how you become a grassroots, sort of theoretically door to door, word of mouth type of success story. But then, and maybe this goes back to, your business plan, some insight is maybe you're not trying to sell 1 million watches, right? Maybe your idea is to be a bespoke boutique that's always going to be low volume, and that exclusivity carries something of value in itself.
Right. I will want to be as big as possible, to the extent when I get to a point where I personally can't connect with my customers, then I need to dial it back, and that's when I want to stop growing. 100%. I want to be accessible to all my customers, all my potential customers, and I really do think if I get to a certain point, if I have this tremendous amount of growth, there's going to be a point where I'm not going to be accessible, or it's not going to be as easy. I don't know where that point is, but that's what I have in my mind. That's a fantasy about my growth and the size of the company that I want.
Yeah, no, that's a cool milestone. I look forward to seeing you get there. I like that, as out there on the future path. Let me ask. I want to be respectful of your time, Brian, but I want to hit on just a couple other things. And I think this is maybe part and parcel to naming the company after your first son when he was born. I gotta think that through your different career choices, although you say you feel like the same guy, obviously, you've grown and experiences change us. Tell me about fatherhood. How has that changed you?
It is the most difficult thing I've ever done. I'll tell you what, being down range and have someone point a gun at you is a lot easier than being a father.
Love it.
But it's great. It is the most rewarding thing that I've done. I enjoy spending time with my sons. I enjoy watching. My oldest son is 5. I really enjoy it. It melts my heart when he looks at me and he's like, "What does that mean?" Or he's like, "I don't get it. Explain that to me," because he's still learning. Like the world is still new to him. Yeah, he's at a point where it's not as new as it was a year ago, and he's starting to like put things together and can understand like concepts on his own. But like there's still times where he's like, "I don't explain that to me," and it's just like it's so amazing. I'm like, "You really don't know," and that's like a beautiful thing. Let me try to explain this to you, and then like it's difficult, right? Because you're like, actually, I have no idea why that works. And then you're like, "Give me a minute," right? You're on YouTube looking it up or whatever. No, but like it's been rewarding. It's been very challenging too, and I find the challenging part is patience and consistency.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I got to ask you about that, but just to sort of relate and a little anecdote. I mean, you got a lot of fun years ahead of you. I'm a few years beyond that with my 11-year-old.
Right.
But the questions, they keep coming, which is awesome. I hope that lasts forever. They just get more and more refined, and it's fun to watch how intelligent the questions get. So I was just running my son home from soccer to talk to you, and I said, "Hey, I gotta run and do a phone call real quick." And at 5 it'd be like, "Okay, where's my iPad or whatever." And in this case, my son was going, "Okay, well, who are you talking to? And tell me about the story, and why is that interesting?"
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy to hear that. That's awesome. That's really cool.
You're gonna have fun with it. You mentioned patience. I can't tell you I've developed any secrets, but you got any good hacks or things that you do to keep it in between the lines?
No, I still feel like I'm trying to like come up with the happy medium. As as my son gets older, he pushes my buttons more and pushes the envelope more. I wish I had some sort of hack, but I don't. I constantly remind myself that he's still learning to, like, for lack of a better term, be a boy and then kind of be a man and just kind of be like a human being in general, right? And I forget the fact. Oftentimes I forget. Even though we do have this somewhat intelligent conversation at a 5-year-old level, like he's still only 5 years old.
Exactly.
What about you? Have you learned any hacks that you could share with me?
Oh man, sometimes I think it's just a matter of taking a deep breath. I would say, and I don't know from your military background if you're sort of used to like a really early start to your day, but I find myself that if I get up, if I only get up maybe like an hour before I got to get my son up and get everything moving for the day, that I just feel like I've started behind the pace. So I find that some of my maybe calmest days, I'm making sure that I'm up super early, getting my own time in, whether that's some breathing, whether it's getting on the rowing machine or getting a run or workout in, whatever the me time is. And for me, I find that the physical exertion really sort of calms the mental and emotional side.
Absolutely.
So I kind of have to knock that out early in the day, and then I feel like I'm primed to get him up and get rolling in a good way.
Yeah, I would agree. I for myself too, if I'm not up in the morning at a reasonable like 4:35, I'm looking for those next couple hours throughout the entire day just playing catch up. I know you're right. When I'm playing catch up, that's when the patience is a little bit more thin than it used to be. And then working out. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, God, working out and just like 30 minutes of just like painful working out, like to exhaustion, really does, like, it's like my church. It like just clears my mind. I can forget about everything for a little bit and just kind of reset. I think you're 100% right. You're onto something. You're onto something, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think I mean, not my invention by any means. A lot of people talk about the morning routine, but I'm the same way. And something about a hard workout sort of knocks the edge off something. And conversely, if I don't get it done, and particularly if it rolls for even a couple days where I'm not getting a workout in, man, I'm in a bad place.
Yeah, you're kind of moody, huh? Because I am too.
Hey, so a couple of things. A
Yeah.
couple notes I've got here, and I'll kind of piggyback on something I heard you say that you learned from someone else. You got some advice. So you said earlier, asking for some free help, like with a CAD design, or maybe just
Yeah.
trying to find resources for anything that you're
Mm-hmm.
after, be it a business or something else. You got some advice about, if you ask somebody for help and they go like, nah, man, it's not my thing. I can't really help
Yeah.
you. Rather than seeing something like that as a dead end, or maybe it's even a potential customer, you had this question of, well, do you know somebody else who could help?
Right. Absolutely. Um, that has proven to be, it's always about like the follow-up question. And I think about when people ask me for help, I'm like, no, I don't know how to do that. And I'm not thinking like that person, like I'm not necessarily thinking about like, but I know someone else who can. Everyone's got their own stuff going on during the day and they're super busy. And I found that follow-up question, do you know someone else who could help me? It like opened up so many doors for me, and it just like it was 4 more networks that I was able to tap in to find someone who could potentially help me out. It's the advice that I received really turned out to be invaluable to me.
Yeah, I as soon as I heard you say that, I in another interview, I jotted that down, and I mean, I think that's super powerful, and I've been trying to find ways to use that myself.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested in how it works out for you.
Well, I'll put you on the spot. Then you can follow up with me. I mean, I'm going to use it for this podcast and just say like, hey, when I'm meeting and talking to interesting people, I'm going to follow up afterwards and say, hey, Brian, if you know of somebody else who's kind of in tune to the message we're talking about, and that would be
Hmm.
interesting to talk to, then that's a future guest out here, hopefully.
Absolutely. I will sit down and think about this. I know a few interesting people, not many, but a few.
I think you're being modest in that, but no, I very much appreciate it. Couple things I don't want to leave without touching on, and you've talked about. Love the theme behind the critic, and we don't do it alone. People who've come before us, people who come after us. You've also talked about the veteran community being a big thing for
Hmm.
you. You
Hmm.
mentioned the owner founder of Resco Watches being one person that helped you out.
Hmm.
Is there anything you want to talk about there, just in terms of whether it's network or things you're involved in or that are important?
Yeah, I mean, just the general vet community is extremely important to me. I didn't think at all when I separated from active duty that I never like considered myself a vet by any means, but for whatever reason, when I was separated from active duty, the veteran community itself opened their arms to me. And literally the conversations that I had with these other vets was, hey man, how can we help you? What do you need? We love you. Like, you want to talk? And maybe I'll introduce you to, like, it was just amazing to me, like the amount of warmth and love and encouragement that I received from the veteran community. And it really kind of just changed. I don't know that it changed my perspective, but it was something I never expected. And I find myself now, because of that experience, trying to be involved in the vet community as much as I can and trying to give back a little bit more than what I took. It's interesting. It's really powerful. This is the vet community. When they opened their arms to me, it was the second time that I really fell in love with America. And I thought to myself, this is kind of what America's about, is this people wanting to help other people.
People willing to help other people. Yeah. Yeah, that is awesome. I mean, I don't come from a military background myself.
Hmm.
My grandparents' generation, on one side of the family, a bunch of guys over served in Europe. Other
Hmm.
side of the family, civilian contractors, and then my dad was in served in the army as a captain over in Vietnam. And one thing for him, I mean, he came back and I mean he brought stuff back that he's worked the rest of his life to get his head around. I had a chance last year here in San Diego to get involved with an initiative called Burpees for Vets.
Uh-huh.
Burpees are like the worst thing in the world. I'm convinced. So
They are.
back to doing hard things. The Courage
Yeah.
Foundation ran a fundraiser, and so a bunch
Okay.
of people did a bunch of burpees as a fundraiser. Knocked out, I think in total, on the order of hundreds of thousands or millions of burpees. And that
That's
was
correct.
all with yeah, it was horrible and wonderful all at the same time. And it was
For a
all
good cause.
they're on a mission for vets with PTS, which for me
Yeah.
and my family that kind of hit real close to home. But particularly being in San Diego, there's such a deep vet community, whether it's supporting things like that or veteran-owned business and entrepreneurs. There's just so many opportunities to get involved.
Yeah. Well, I like to say I really appreciate you giving back to the vet community. Being a vet myself, it means a lot. The first time I fell in love with America is when I had civilians, when I was active duty, send me a care package and a letter just saying, "Hey, we love you. What can we do for you?" And I talk about the first time I fell in love with America and the second time I fell in love with America, and really all it comes down to is like the human capacity to genuinely care and provide help to someone. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, by all means, honor's mine, and that's a great way to package it up. And I mean, I feel like that is kind of the spirit behind and the story behind this journey you're on. It's been pretty epic so far. I really look forward to seeing where the Declan James Watch Company goes. This thing is now on my shopping list. Where is the best place for people to see and buy and learn more about Declan James watches?
So you can go to my website, www.declanjameswatchco.com, and my website will pop up, or you can simply just Google Declan James Watch Co. or Declan James and kind of find it that way. I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram. But if you're interested in purchasing a watch, the easiest way to do that is to go through my website.
Website. Okay, perfect. And for anybody who is in the active duty, reserve, law enforcement community, are you on GovX as well?
I am not. I am not.
Okay.
But I do offer, for anyone who is active duty vet or military, I do offer, my brotherhood or sisterhood discount, whatever you want to call it, of 15%. So all they have to do is just reach out to me, and I can give them that discount.
All right. Perfect. So I am going to put in the show notes for the episode here. We'll put links to your website,
Okay.
where else people could find you on social media, and hopefully steer some people your way. You said you wanted to continue to be the brand and the face and be involved. So let's get some people headed over here and checking out your product.
Well, I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. And yeah, I really appreciate your time, Brian. Again, thank you for coming on and talk to us. Great story, and look forward to hearing more.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Great story. Brian is such a dynamic and interesting individual. Really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit, hearing about the epic journey and success he's already had, and continuing on into the Declan James Watch Company. Brian really generously, as you heard, offered a 15% incredible discount to our veteran and active military duty community. Please reach out to him to take advantage of that for one of these timepieces, and head over to manofmastery.com/005, where I'll put links to Brian's website and other ways to contact him for a Declan James watch. Also, head over to manofmastery.com/iTunes and subscribe. You're not going to want to miss next week's show. It's the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion in World War II. And around that, we have an incredible story and a really special interview I know you're going to love.